it is officially the Hoa Hoa season. And what better way to get myself in the fall mood than to read fall-like books? I'm thinking of something with a castle in the woods, witchcraft, and rituals. I'll be challenging myself to read 3 books and share my spoiler-free thoughts. I hope you will enjoy. Hello, my name is Kata, and the 3 books that I have picked up, first of all, have a very Twilight themed color scheme, and I'm going to start off with the first one. This is The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. This story is supposed to be touching upon a lot of pagan rituals and witchcraft, and I don't really know much else. It looks fantastic, to be honest with you. I feel like this is going to be the ultimate fall book for me right now. The second book is Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. From what I know, this is a retelling of the Sleeping Beauty, perhaps, but it's not from her perspective. It's from a different character's perspective. You know, maybe I shouldn't be saying things if I'm not sure. So I'm not sure what this book is about. Here's a little secret. I go into books usually almost completely blindly. I like knowing as little about the book as possible. I usually base off the vibe, whether I'm going to enjoy a book or not, just solely from the title, the genre, and sometimes even the cover. I think that a cover can tell you quite a lot about what the book is supposed to be about, and also gives the general atmosphere of the story. Bonus points for this specific book is that it's very short, as you can see. I think it's around 150 pages, yes. So this will be very quick, and I think I'm going to read it in the middle, kind of like a little snack between 2 bigger meals. And speaking of the bigger meal, the book that I'm the most excited for from this whole stack is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I actually just finished reading the second book in her King Shepherd duology, Two Twisted Crowns. You may remember I did a video about the first book, One Dark Window, and I thought it was okay, but it didn't really stand out to me. The second book is currently one of my favorite books I've read this year. It was genuinely so fun and full of tension and adventure, and therefore I am so excited to try this one. I believe this is a book about nuns that have the ability to have visions of the future. There's also magical gargoyles, and that's all I know. So I think I'm going to start probably with I already forgot what it's called. Something Woodsman. The Wolf and the Woodsman, yes. Probably I'll do a little update after like 100 pages and tell you what I'm thinking so far, what the story is even about. You know, maybe that's what I should be focusing on. What the story is about, how am I feeling about it so far? And also I really would want to do kind of like a section after I finish each of these books of how they made me feel in terms of putting me in the fall mood, and also who I think would enjoy these books. So let's grab ourselves tea, hot cocoa, coffee, and a cat. Cat is not for drinking. Let's get started. Wow, what a boring book. I'm actually already almost at the very end of the book. I only have 50 pages left. This book, as I said, is about mostly just rituals, religion, paganism, in a bit of a fantasy setting. The main character lives among other pagan women in this little tribe in the woods, and one day they decide to sacrifice the main character and give her away to the woodsman to protect a different girl from their little village. The book is written in the first person point of view, and in the very first chapter you can already see that the main character has this very immature voice. She also complains about being bullied by this popular mean girl. And after finishing that first chapter, I'm like, oh, okay, so she is probably around 16 years old, so I assume this is a YA fantasy. 20 pages later or so, you see a really graphic gore scene. And let's start with the fact that I'm really sensitive to gore, so if I knew that it has it, I probably wouldn't picked it up. And I'm a little taken aback, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is a horror vibe fantasy. Even more pages pass and I am progressively getting more and more frustrated with how immature and straight up mean the main character is. She truly acts like a spoiled brat, only for me to find out that she is not 16. She's 25. If you expect that the main character is mean on purpose so that she can have a character development throughout the whole story, you will be wrong, because as I said, I am almost at the end. Do you see how far I am? The main character still acts the same exact way. If I wasn't filming this video, I probably would have DNF'd this book after like 140 pages, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think who would enjoy this book. I definitely would lean more towards people who really like what I would call stories within stories. So you pick up a book and then characters in the book learn about stories of someone else. So in this specific case, you have stories about gods. There's a lot of mythology, a lot of religious stories, folklore. If you like this type of stuff, I think you would enjoy it, because I don't know if I can call this world building really, but the mythology building in the story, the religion building in the story is actually very detailed. And the most important thing is that we need to test whether this book passes my challenge to put me in the fall mood. And I would say that it does. That story takes place in late fall, so it's definitely more towards November, maybe even early December, right before snow. If I were to rate this book, I would probably rate it something between 1.5 or 2 stars. I'm leaning more towards 1.5 star because I also just don't think this book is written really well. There is so much repetition, like exactly the same phrases. For example, the king has a crown made of fingernails, and therefore every single time you see the king, it is emphasized that he has the crown made of nails. Truly a terrible book to start this reading challenge with, but you know what? Sometimes you just have to have the balance. You have to read the bad books in order to appreciate fully the good ones. I made the dough for cinnamon rolls in the morning, so let's go check up on it. And the verdict is... I just finished reading Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. It was actually my first ever time reaching out for this author, and I'm really glad that I did. I really loved the fairy tale atmosphere of the story. If you love the idea of cozy fantasy, but it's just a little too sweet for you sometimes, I would say that you would actually really enjoy this, because it has that basic wholesome vibe as all of cozy fantasies, but it still has that dark twist to it. There's a lot of themes of just abuse, cruelty, being taken away from your family, and all of that is just in this thin little book. Also, I loved the knight's character in this story. I would describe his character as the embodiment of he's a little confused, but he's got the spirit. However, if you're looking for a little bit more romance in this story, you're just not really gonna get that. There is some romance hinted between those characters, but this is more of an open-end story, and you get to decide how their love life is gonna go from now on. Overall, I would say that my enjoyment of the story was kind of like 3.5 stars, so maybe slowly going into 4 stars, but not exactly there. However, when it comes to putting me in the fall mood, It did nothing for me. I think it's because the weather is not described in this book whatsoever. The descriptions of nature are also almost non-existent. You just get the basic sense of, oh, there is a thorn hedge. So I didn't really feel the fall vibes from it, but I still am glad that I read it for fall. So I don't know if I would call this a fall book necessarily, but at the same time, I'm glad that I read it in the fall because I don't know if the story would hit as well in other seasons. Now I want to reach for more books from this author. I believe she also wrote Nettle and Bone, and it also has that cozy fantasy but make it dark vibe. And now finally I get to read the book that I'm the most excited for. I actually already have it in my bedroom. Should I go get it? It's The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillick. As you can see, I already started reading it, just like a tiny little bit. It's about a week later and I actually already finished the whole book, so let me try to gather my thoughts about it, because I think the main issue that I had with this book is that I just simply had too high expectations. And I think my problem is that every single time I go into a romantasy, I expect a romance, but what I get instead is just two people being really horny. And so I always expect a romance, like a properly built romance with two characters getting to know each other, learning about each other, and just slowly but surely getting together, catching feelings. But instead, what I always end up getting is just, as I said, two characters being sexually attracted to each other, not really romantically. And I hate to say this, but the romance in this book is almost the same as any other. Like, I don't see that huge of a difference between this and, for example, something in Fourth Wing. I'm sorry, I know. There is a few differences, but the concept is still basically the same. You know, two characters constantly bantering with each other with a lot of sexual undertones, and that's fine if that's what you're looking for. But as I said, I went into this thinking that the romance is gonna be romantic, not sexual. You know what, maybe I just need to read a romance book with two ace characters. Is there even a romantasy with two ace characters? If you know anything, hit me. It's more of a me problem rather than the problem with this book specifically. I do think, however, that what sets apart this romance from all the other romantasies is that, first of all, I really liked the approach to sex, because both of the characters really express their desires in a respectful manner. I liked that part. I also really liked that the main character tells the man that she never came while being with someone, and that's something that she feels very insecure about. And I like that when they have their first intimate moment, she expresses those worries yet again, but he reassures her that you don't need to come. You don't need to do anything. Don't put any pressure on yourself, because I just want you to have a good time. And believe it or not, you can't have a good time without coming. This book has a very simple world building. I didn't mind it because I thought that this is a standalone. And I was like, oh, it's just like a quest type of story where you have to go to many different places to collect magical objects. It works. Now tell me why it turns out that it's not a standalone. I played myself with this one. I thought it's a standalone. But then the very last 10 pages throw a plot twist that I really disliked. Honestly, I want to say that, oh, I don't know how I feel about it. No, I dislike because it ruins the already overly simplistic world building. Like, I genuinely don't know where the story is supposed to go after the first book, because the world wasn't built enough to have a full series made out of that. I have absolutely no idea what the second book is supposed to be about. The atmosphere of this book, though, was phenomenal. I felt like I truly immersed myself in this cold fall gothic world full of gargoyles, magical trees, and water There's a lot of water themes throughout the whole book. My rating of this book would probably be 3 stars because out of all of the Rachel Gillig's books, I think this one so far is the weakest one for me. I might pick up the second book because, well, I've already established that somehow in that author duology, the second book was significantly better than the first one. So maybe that would be the thing as well with this book. I guess we just have to wait and see. So cold in here. That concludes my fall reading challenge. I hope that you enjoyed it and maybe found some new books that you would like to check out. Hold on, let me grab all of them actually. I think that out of all of these books, I'd say that my favorite was Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher, and I definitely want to check out more stuff from this author. Then the second one would be Night and the Moth, and this one, this is actually my second attempt trying to read a book written by Ava Reid. I tried to read A Study in Drowning, but I actually DNF'd it because it was a little bit too triggering for me. Maybe just this author is simply not for me. I know that a lot of people love Ava Reid books, but guess it's just not for me. With that being said, I will be ending this video and I hope that we'll see each other hopefully next month because I already have prepared a different video that I want to publish here. I kinda want to try to revive this channel. I don't know how often I will post, but maybe once in a while updates or little challenges would be something that you're also interested in. So happy fall everyone, and I'll see you in a different video. Bye bye.